Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand afternoon show. I need to speak to you guys. I need to have a conversation with you guys and I need to have some community support on this because I am about to go mentally insane if I don't get this off my chest. I've got something to talk to you about. Also, as you can see by the title, I've just been told some news before we went live basically, and it's kind of scrambled my head left, right and centre, and I want to kind of tell you about it. But as you can see by the title and the thumbnail, we are going to be talking about Joao Gomes from Wolves. Very hot prospects from Wolves. I've been speaking to my very good friend who is a diehard Wolves fan, goes every single week, and he's given me a little bit of information on him. Man United are scouting him as a potential Casemiro replacement. Going to talk about that, going to compare him a little bit to Casemiro. What's his role? What do we need to know more about him? Also, Pedro Neto getting linked to Man United again. I don't think we'll go for Pedro Neto, but we're going to explore it. We're definitely exploring the right winger market, like I said yesterday. Where does this leave players like Ahmad, like Anthony? Going to get into that. Also going to get into Tosin from Fulham. Could be available on a free transfer. Man United, under Sir Jim, are looking for good deals, looking for bargains. If Man United need two centre-backs, which is what Romano has been saying, we could go and buy one, but because we're struggling for money, the second one could be brought in on a free with Tosin there to be got at. Or maybe he just wants a new contract at Fulham and you know, we're trying to get a higher wage. We'll talk about that. And of course, the Gareth Southgate rumours will not go away. And that's what I wanted to speak to you about when I first came onto the show. Guys, I know when people say sauces, people say your sauces are ketchup and mayo. I get it. You know, some people, they do try and be an ITK. They try and go into the transfer window, try and get the go ahead on everything. And realistically, the sauce is just non-existent. I have never ever lied about someone telling me some information to try and get ahead. It's just not the way I am. I don't pretend to be in the know about anything because usually I'm not. But as of recently, I have gained very good trust and connections with two different people who I really respect and have been right on a lot of things. And a lot of the stuff they haven't even shared with, they have shared with me, but I haven't even shared because I haven't wanted to, you know, say anything that wasn't going to be true. I just kind of wanted to see it play out and see if they were right. Both these people have been right to me in privately numerous times. I'm being told by two different sources that I very much trust that these Southgate rumours are more than just rumours now. It's looking like there's definitely something in him being the next Manchester United manager as a preference of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. And that as a whole absolutely scares the life out of me. Of course, Sir Jim and Ineos, they still might stick with Ten Hag till next season. And I hope they will, and that is still a very, very big chance. But if Ten Hag does go, Southgate, I'm being told, is very, very high priority to come in and be Manchester United manager, and he's very well liked by that setup, and that absolutely scares the life out of me. I will not be able to take anything Ineos does seriously if they do this. I will have to give up watching football. I don't think people understand the extent to the fact I cannot, like, I've been ignoring these rumours. I've not even been taking it seriously because I was trying to laugh it off, and I was thinking, you know, it's just the international break. They're just trying to make stories, you know, to get Man United in the press. England are in there. You know, there's nothing in it. Then various different outlets started reporting it, and now I'm getting told by really good sources that there could be something in this Southgate stuff. My head is on the moon. My head is out of this world. Like, everyone who's championed Erik ten Hag out. Would you still be doing that if you knew Southgate was the alternative? Would you? Because I can. If you're thinking straight, you wouldn't. I genuinely don't know how to take this. My head just feels like it's falling off. It feels like it's falling off. I'm going absolutely insane, and I cannot live in a world where Southgate is Manchester United manager. I won't be able to function. I don't know what I'd do. Like, there would be uproar among the fan base. And what Sir Jim and Ineos have done so far, you know, the thoughts of the new stadium plans, coming in, meeting everyone behind the scenes, bringing Omar Barada in, bringing Dan Ashworth in. You know, I've been on the positivity train. I've been like, Sir Jim, Ineos, fair play to you. You've looked like you're going to be brilliant co-owners and a breath of fresh air. We're actually taking Manchester United in the right direction. All of that, you might as well gather it up, throw it on the fire, burn it, and you just can't bring stuff that you've burned back to life. I cannot ever be on board with an association that feels like Southgate's the right manager for England. I just cannot be. So I wanted to get that out in the air when I went live on this show, and I'm just dreading it. I'm dreading it. Erik ten Hag in, please. I hope he gets given a chance under the new structure, because I don't want the alternative of Southgate being manager. I just don't. But anyway, guys. I wanted to get into that at the start of this show. I had to talk about it. Luke Miller says Gomes will cost 60 million plus due to bidding war. Gonna talk about the possible cost of Joao Gomes as well in a second, but I just needed to get off my chest about Southgate, because I have to call it out as it is. You know, I'm on the United stand, and there's a lot of people that watch these shows. I have to say what I feel about Man United. At the end of the day, I'm a Man United fan at heart, and Southgate is just not. He's not the level of manager that Manchester United can be going for, and I have to say it. Erik ten Hag in. Get in the chat your opinions on this. Emily Derry says Southgate is worse than Ollie and Moyes, and Red Devil says, what's the bet? It will be a diversion for Potter. No way Blanc and Barada can think Southgate is a good replacement. Well, you know, how much control is Sir Jim himself going to have? How much control is Sir Dave Brailsford going to have? Dan Ashworth, remember Dan Ashworth? Dan Ashworth has links directly to Southgate. They've worked together at England before. Sir Jim Ratcliffe's apparently very impressed with how Southgate's gone about the England job. Like, he's bought a big stake in this. He might want a big say. You know, how much say is... I mean, you'd like to think the CEO, Omar Barada, will have a big say, but ultimately he's working underneath Sir Dave Brailsford and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because so far I'm loving what Sir Jim Ratcliffe does, and I really hope this is just... We've got this all wrong and it's non-news, but there definitely is something in this Southgate thing now, and it worries me. It really worries me, because I really want to get behind this Ineos takeover, Sir Jim, the new era. I can't get behind Southgate as Man United manager. I just cannot. But anyway, let's get into the show, what I was originally going to talk about, which is transfer stuff, because this sort of stuff really excites me. And since this news came out, it's about 11 a.m. I've been doing my full extensive research on Joao Gomes of Wolves. I have watched him play for Wolves, because I've watched Wolves quite a lot this season, but obviously when you're watching Wolves, you're not directly just zooming in on one player. So I needed to do some research. I need to do some extensive research on Joao Gomes. That involved me having quite a few conversations with Wolves fans that I know, and having a little deep dive into Joao Gomes and what he can offer Manchester United. So the news is coming out from the Mirror that Man United are looking to sign a holding midfielder this summer. How interesting is that, when on yesterday's morning show we had the news that Romano said a holding midfielder isn't a priority and could be addressed later on in the window. Well, the British press are saying that Man United are looking to sign a holding midfielder this summer, with Casemiro likely to leave, and have identified £40 million rated Gomes as a potential replacement for his fellow Brazilian. Gomes has been watched by Manchester United on several occasions this season, most recently early this month when Wolves beat Fulham 2-1 at the Molineux in the Premier League. So, it goes on to say, Wolves are aware that there will be interest in Gomes this summer and are understood to have begun the process of identifying a replacement should they end up selling him. Wolves midfielder Joao Gomes is on Manchester United's radar as Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos' team plan a major midfield overhaul this summer, with the Brazilian among their targets. So, obviously it massively contradicts. This is a news show, by the way. We don't make up the thumbnails, we don't make up the headlines, we go off what the news is. So it massively contradicts the news yesterday that a central defensive midfielder wasn't really on the top of our radar. But today, obviously, the British press is saying it is. I think Romano is a brilliant journalist, and I feel like the British press will have a lot of kind of insight into the core, into the core of what Sir Jim wants to do. Obviously, being a British owner and having connections within the British media. But what I would say is Sir Jim has kept a lot of his cards close to his chest and a lot of his plans on the low. But one thing that has come out quite a lot is saving money, cost-cutting wages. Casemiro does fall into that bracket. There's been a lot of rumours that Casemiro will go this summer. I've always said I'd like to hold onto him for another year. But if he has to go, he has to go. I'm not going to be kicking and screaming saying, no, please don't take him. I think Casemiro's a good player. I think he was an absolute world-class player in his prime. I think he was great for us last season, one of our players of the season. This season, there's been a lot of mistakes, been injured, so he's not been able to maybe put a consistent run together. But I do think it's time he's probably going to end up moving on either this year or next year. I'd like to keep him for another year because if we're even going to bring a younger player in, how great would it be for them to learn off Casemiro? The downside to that is I just don't think we have the budget to allow a 300 grand a week wage for that reason, and I think that's what Sir Jim's kind of looking at. But he is one of the better players in our squad, got the mentality, has, is been in finals, knows what it takes, great for the dressing room. It's an interesting one. Get in the comments what you guys think. But on Joao Gomes, I'm going to be honest, based on the conversations I've had, I'm sold. I'm sold. I need to watch him more closely, but based on the conversations I've had with this Wolves fan that goes every week, I really trust him. I am absolutely sold. So I spoke to this Wolves fan a little bit on what he thinks about Joao Gomes, and I'm going to tell you, I wrote down what he said in this conversation. So he said he's been called up to the Brazilian squad for the first time. He said he's brilliant. Leon tried to nick him from us when he signed. He's a very hot prospect. He wins the ball back in the midfield like nobody else, can pick up a card, and he's quite aggressive. We bought him for 15 million though, and he's on a long contract. So I expect it would be more than 40 million that it would take to get him out of Wolves. He thinks it'd have to be more around the 60 million mark, which someone just said in the chat as well, which I don't think we're going to be able to, spend 60 million on this player, I'm going to be honest. But 40 million did seem a bit low. But what I like about him, and I've said this before, get your comments in the chat as well. What I do like about Joao Gomes, the thought of him, is, I've said this before, we need someone who can play as a 6 and as an 8. And that's what Joao Gomes can do. We need someone who can go and hunt the ball down, win the ball back, but he's also press resistant and he's good on the ball. Joao Gomes can do this. That is many boxes ticked as the requirements of what we need from a midfielder this summer. So that's why I'm getting a little bit more sold on him as I hear more about him. I asked this Wolves fan what he thinks his best position is, and he said he can play as a 6 and an 8, but I think his best position is a 6. He said he just wins the ball back more than you can imagine. He's great and he's aggressive and he's press resistant. We massively need players that are press resistant. We lack them in our squad. Kobbie Mainoo's press resistant, Dallow's press resistant, Martinez is press resistant. I go past that mark and I struggle to find players that are press resistant. So Man United needs more of them players. So they're all things, positive things that I like about Joao Gomes is in what he can offer for us as a midfielder. So someone that wasn't on my radar at all, but when speaking to my friend, he's actually always Wolves Fan TV on YouTube. He was giving me great insight to him. And he also said that he would expect his price to go up because now, obviously, if he's going to be playing for the Brazil international team a lot more, then that makes the price go up as well. He said his nickname was the Pitbull when he was at Flamengo, a Brazilian team, before he moved to Wolves, and that kind of just sums up his aggression. He said super aggressive, wins the ball back, but also composed on the football, and he's press resistant. For me, just kind of hearing that is kind of everything Man United needs in a midfielder. Of course, you need to do more of a deep dive on him. Of course, you need to look into him a bit more. But, of course, I think he's only 23. He's got huge potential. This could genuinely be a really nice player for Man United to be targeting. But he did say to me, Wolves fans wouldn't want to sell him. He only came in last year. He's got on a long contract. He says he thinks it'd be hard to get him out of Wolves. But obviously wait and see what happens in the summer. Just kind of looking at what you guys are saying in the comments. Brian Govinda says Gomez is okay, also like Cunha. Origami says we might buy him and he might never play. Paul Lucas says next season we'll have Dan Gore back. Mazander says, does McTominay, he cannot play Ten Hag ball. I'm sorry, but potential any argument is out of the window. And Dalu Leonard says too expensive. Mainu, not the actual Mainu, says watched him against Spurs, he was good. Well, everyone get your chats in on this, get any super chats in that you want to bring forward. I'm going to watch him a lot more closely, but I do think he's someone that has a lot of potential, and here's one for you as well. So another report came out in the same article about Manchester United, being interested in Joao Gomes, and it also says that as well as Gomes, Manchester United have been keeping tabs on his Wolves teammate, Portuguese winger Pedro Neto, as a potential replacement for Anthony. That I think we are looking at Neto, because obviously we're looking at Elise and we're definitely looking for a right winger, but Anthony isn't going anywhere. I was speaking to Simon Stone today and he said if we sold Anthony, we'd lose money because of financial fair play. Anthony isn't going anywhere, so I don't believe that. I believe we're definitely scouting Pedro Neto. But I also asked Dave about this as well, and he says as much as he loves Pedro Neto, because he says on his day he's absolutely insane, and he thinks if he could, play every single week the way that he knows he can, he'd be unplayable. He loves him. He thinks he's brilliant. But he said out of all of the hot prospects coming out of Wolves, he says he understands Wolves needs to sell. If he was going to sell one out of Aït-Nouri, Joao Gomes or Pedro Neto, he'd want to sell Pedro Neto, because he said I think he's been at Wolves for 5 years now, but he's only played 2.5 years because of injuries. And I said, obviously for Pedro Neto, he's super talented, he's young, but no one's going to want to go and spend 70-80 million pounds on someone who's not available for you. Availability is the best ability, and that's why he said that he'd be most open to signing Pedro Neto. And then he said the one he'd least like to sell is Joao Gomes, because Wolves fans appreciate how much potential he has and how good he's been for them since he stepped in. Have you seen that Southampton meme about, Wan-Bissaka, and it's the old man, I think he's on a fan cam, and he's like, he wins that ball back so much. Everyone's seen that on Twitter. That's kind of what he says Joao Gomes is like in the midfield, which, again, suits Erik ten Hag's style of play, loves to win the ball back high up the pitch, needs someone who's be able to pass it off and be ball playing as well. So Joao Gomes is ticking a lot of boxes for me, and that's just a little bit of an insight on where Manchester United are at. And the one thing I would say is what does excite me and is something that has actually, made me smile today, is that hopefully this does mean that Man United are targeting a centre defensive midfielder, which is exactly what we need to do. I spoke about the importance of it on yesterday's show. Even better for me, is that it's someone who's like a hybrid 6/8 that can win the ball back, can win the duels, but can also pass off the ball really well. He also said he's got a goal in him as well. He's decent in front of goal. Selling me on Joao Gomes. Maybe he just wants to fleece me for around 60 million for him, but no, he sold me on him. So we'll have to see how that story develops, but I definitely think there's something in there. Also, I got a little quote from last year of João Moutinho speaking on Joao Gomes. He says he brings a lot of things. He said he's a young guy with a lot of quality. He's aggressive. He wants the ball. He wants to play with the ball, and he also has a great finish. So kind of backing up what Dave was saying there from a player that actually played with him. So a lot of potential there with Joao Gomes. D. Booge says, Beth, why is no one talking about England giving Gareth an extension if he wins the Euros? I am sick of that news. Why always us? Never ignored. Interesting stuff. All I'll say is I do think there is the legs in this Gareth Southgate story, which I said at the start of the show, scares the life out of me. And I think it scares a lot of Man United fans. I've just got to be honest on my opinion. And now I'm like, obviously, I'm not really a big England fan when we're not in a major competition. Like, international breaks, don't really like them very much, to be honest. The football Southgate plays with England usually bores me to death. But when it's the Euros or the World Cup, I'm proper into it, and I am an England fan through and through. Let's go. But now I'm going into the Euros thinking, yeah, but if we win it, that's going to give more ammunition for Southgate to get the job. You'll just hear all the commentary teams saying, oh, well, you know, this puts him in prime position for the England job. Not the England job. This puts him in prime position for the United job now. He's won the Euros. Surely he should be knocking on the door for the United job. And that just, no. I don't need any more ammunition that's already there. So I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, because obviously I want England to win the Euros, but I don't want any ammunition for Southgate to be United manager. So, gosh, it's just an absolute mess. And he shouldn't be, even if he wins the Euros, he should not be considered one bit for that job, and I'll stand by that. But on a little bit of a comparison of Joao Gomes and Casemiro, I was looking through the stats, and Joao Gomes really kind of, like, recoveries right up there, duels contested right up there, total tackles right up there, take on success right up there, ground duel success right up there, and he beat Casemiro on every single metric apart from aerial duel success rate, which Casemiro had won. But when I'm looking at the stats next to each other, I wish I could bring them up on screen, but our graphics guy is off. Like, Joao Gomes is green, 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 and Casemiro's red, 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 red. Obviously, you've got to do the eye test, and Casemiro is ahead of Joao Gomes right now as it stands, obviously, what he's done in his career. But as a potential replacement, he, like, ticks all the boxes of what we're needing out of Casemiro. So a lot of potential there. Another bit of news that is coming in from the Mirror is that Sir Jim wants to end the policy of spending exorbitant fees on star names. I mean, we've already heard about that. He said he didn't want to do any more Mbappes. Mark did a show on that. Yeah, we need to find our own. I'm in agreement with that. Obviously, we're Man United, and when we've built a good team, you'd like to think we're in a position of, say if we had, like, built a team where we're just looking to fine-tune it, you'd like to think we'd be in a position to spend like 100 million on like a Bellingham or 100 million on like a Joao Neves. You know, we still want to be able to pull off them signings in the future. But as of now, we absolutely should be looking at bringing in talent that we can develop to turn into £100 million stars instead of buying them in. I'm in agreement with that. Ladio says, to completely honest, I'd like to keep Ten Hag for 10 years. Ten Hag in, please give him a chance under the new structure. I honestly think, even though the Southgate rumours are running rife, I think what will happen is, because of the cost, Sir Jim and Ineos will keep Ten Hag in place until at least next season. If he starts to have a rough ride again, they'll sack him and get their own guy in. If not, hopefully he doesn't, we can progress with Ten Hag. That's what I'm hoping. He at least gets given the chance of next season. A lot of people are asking me to do a poll, in or out, on Southgate. What's the point in that? What's the point of me doing a poll, in or out? That's like me doing a poll of, you know, I don't even know. Like, it's just going to be like 90% out and 10% in. There's no point doing that. It's like me doing a poll of, you know, would you rather go to the Maldives on holiday or a caravan at the end of your street? Like, you know, it's gonna go one way or the other, isn't it? Like, I know what the outcome of that's going to be. If you want me to do a different style of poll, something that we can actually get a proper debate going on. Tony says, what is the Sir Jim issue with foreign players and coaches and just wanting British personnel? I fear that we are being set up to fail. Ten Hag in. There is obviously definitely an appetite there to have a British core, but I don't think he's necessarily against foreign players or coaches. We'll have to wait and see. I've got to see it to believe it, really. A lot of people asking for. Do you know what? I'll do the poll just to kind of see what you guys are doing. Producer, get the poll on. Southgate, yes or no? It's going to be like 95% no, though. I already know that right now. Anyway, let's move on to the centre-back situation. So, I know Mark brought back the hotometer the other day on the United stand, and he had Todibo very high up on his list of centre-back that could potentially come in for Manchester United. I honestly see the Todibo story kind of slipping away. We've not been linked to him for a while. I see that sort of story fading, to be honest. I like Todibo a lot, and I definitely think he's a candidate, but he's definitely kind of, the heat is eased off on that player. Maybe the temperature will turn up a little bit the more we head closer to the summer. But we've been linked to a lot of centre-backs recently. But the most recent centre-back that we've been linked to is Tosin from Fulham. So it's coming out that Manchester United are reportedly interested in making a move for former Manchester City centre-back and current Fulham defender Tosin. He's 26 years old and currently Fulham are hoping to get him on a new contract, but he currently, if he runs his contract down, he would be on a free in the summer. And remember, how much have we been told that the new transfer strategy is trying to look for good deals that we can get on a free transfer, players on the last year of the contract that you can get a smaller fee for. So this you've got to kind of bring into consideration when looking at centre-backs. Do I think Tosin will be our star centre-back, main centre-back signing in the summer if we go for him? No. Do I think he could be a centre-back that we bring in as well as bringing in, you know, a Branthwaite or a Todibo or that even a Bremer, that sort of realm? Yes, potentially I do think that could be the case, because you would argue that Man United need two centre-backs. I mean, I would argue that we need two centre-backs. There's a talk that we really kind of want to overhaul that centre-back area. I think Martinez is the only one that's really safe. I'd love to keep Varane on after what he's been able to do for us this season. And I was okay with letting Varane go at the start of the season. After what he's done for us this season, I feel like we should keep him for another year, but that's just my opinion. I don't think it'll happen. Martinez is the only one that's safe. So if we're looking to bring in two centre-backs, we don't have the budget to bring in two centre-backs. How do we get the budget, get one on a free and spend the money on the other? That's what this could be for us. Also, you've got to look at it, Tosin, you know, probably wanting an improved contract at Fulham. Maybe this is kind of news getting put out there and he might end up signing a good deal at Fulham, and then that kind of ends that story. But I've heard a lot of good things about Tosin, and I've watched him for Fulham, decent defender. Not sure he'd kind of be a defender that I'd be massively excited about to come in and start for us on a regular basis. But he's definitely somebody that has a lot of good attributes, you know, quick, tall, physical, somebody that's really kind of settled into that Fulham backline. So it's interesting to say the least. Again, in this news article from the MEN, it says, keeping hold of the defender beyond this point, Fulham would love to do, but he has yet to sign a new contract. So what do you think about this? He's versatile. He's a player that, you know, kind of ticks quite a few boxes. Premier League proven, obviously quick, allows you to play that high line. Not someone that I would have put in my kind of top 5 list, gonna be honest. But if he's available on a free transfer, I think it'd be a smart deal to do. It would be an astute deal to do. If you get him alongside a Branthwaite, you're cooking, you're happy. That is what you call, you know, bringing players in that have the attributes that can fit the style of play that Ten Hag wants to play and can complement each other as well. So that's something that I think Man United would look to explore as kind of a secondary centre-back option. But get in the comments what you guys think, and also get in the poll what you guys think as well on the Southgate to United thing. Remember, holiday to the Maldives or holiday to Thailand or caravan at the end of your street. That's really what it is on the Southgate poll. I'm going to click a firm no on that. See, it's 92% no and 8% of, you know, Liverpool fans. Talk about that. I mean, I like Danny Murphy as a pundit. I think he's a great pundit. But you're telling me he's saying that Southgate should be in for the United job? That is sabotage of the highest extent. Liverpool, Danny Murphy. Come on now. Come on now. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, if Southgate was getting linked to Liverpool, I'd be like, yeah, I think it'd be a great appointment for Liverpool. Of course I would, because I want Liverpool to fail. Like, the only people that think Southgate is a good option for United are fans that want United to fail. That's what it is. That's genuinely what it is. But anyway. We've got a few people talking about Rabiot in the chat, which is interesting. I think the Rabiot ship has sailed, personally. There was obviously a time when he was really hot on to coming to Manchester United. Ten Hag did like him, but I do think that ship has sailed. And we've got Mazander saying Rabiot is Juve captain and he's their best player right now. Ten Hag wants him, so accept. I mean, it'll be interesting. I think the Rabiot ship has sailed, to be honest with you. But what do you think of Tosin, guys? Get in the chat your opinions on that down below. Also, another centre-back that we've been linked to very prominently, that I think there's definitely a lot of there's a lot of legs in this, and I really do think this story is starting to beef up. Whether it's starting to beef up because Juventus need to sell and they want to get a decent fee, or if it's because Man United are generally interested, but it keeps coming out about Gleison Bremer from Juventus. This has been coming out week after week now, and there is legs in it. There's legs in it because apparently Dan Ashworth really rates him. Dan Ashworth is going to be our next sporting director. Gleison Bremer is on his little computer that Newcastle shut off. He's evaluated him and he really likes him. That's the end of the news coming out. And Man United are obviously looking at a centre-back. And Gleison Bremer, you know, kind of fits a lot of the attributes that Man United are looking for. Do I think he's on top of the list? I never thought he was, but he's definitely within that list of centre-backs that Man United are looking for. I mean, Romano said that he's on that list, and he said that he thinks he'd be a great addition to the Premier League. He says he thinks he's made for the Premier League. So do not count Gleison Bremer out. Again, not a player that would be top of my list, but someone that I can definitely see us looking at. And someone that I actually do think would complement Lisandro Martinez, by the way. Very, very good in the air. His main attribute is he's very good aerially. You need someone to complement Martinez who's very good aerially. Even though Martinez can win aerial duels, like he's 5'9". He's, you know, you need someone next to him that's aerially very, very good. Gleison Bremer is that. He's tall, he's quick. He's somebody that can complement Martinez, in my opinion, physical. So I can understand why Man United are looking at him. But again, it came out from another Italian outlet that Man United are front runners to sign Juventus centre-back Gleison Bremer and are willing to pay €50 million for him. Juventus will only consider offers above €60 million. So again, there's a price gap there. There's talks that Juventus, you know, they'll only accept a quite a high fee for him. I think that's because Juventus need to sell him, to be honest, and they need the money. So it'll be interesting to see where that story leads to. What are your thoughts on Gleison Bremer? 26 years old, really good age to actually come in, built physically for the Premier League. Wouldn't say no to it, but also wouldn't be top of my list. So it's going to be interesting to see how we sort of narrow down these centre-back options, striker options, midfield options, because as of now, everything's up in the air and nothing's been decided yet. So as these stories start to develop, as transfer season's upon us, it'll be good to see kind of what direction we're going in. But Gleison Bremer is definitely one of the candidates that's on my centre-back list that I've been looking into. And there is a lot to like about him. Dylan says, another overpriced, unproven centre-back. I wouldn't say he's unproven. I mean, he got Defender of the Year in Serie A when he was playing for Torino, and Serie A has got a lot of good defensive options, and he's kind of built on that defensive, on having the defensive capabilities at the back, like, you know, authentic Italian defenders that have been brilliant. Like, Italian football is built on having a good defence. So I wouldn't say it is necessarily like he's unproven, because he's played really well in that league. Do I think there's better options? Yes. I do think there is better options, to be honest with you. Simon Heron says Brazil, don't play him. John Callaghan says we'll be sitting here going into pre-season with not one new signing going on the trip. Well, this is the thing. We need to make sure that we approach things differently, and that's going to be a big test for Sir Jim and Ineos. And if they don't, they'll get called out on it. But I think they will. I think they've got a plan in advance, and I think they'll definitely take on a different structure. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you've got Omar Barada, hopefully Dan Ashworth talks about Jason Wilcox and a proper team kicking things off. Don't know if it'll be ready for the summer, which is scary, but look into the future. It's definitely going to be miles better than what we've previously had at Manchester United. And a lot of people talking about Scalvini. I know a lot of people are a fan of him, and he's not someone that United are looking at, I don't think, but I know he's definitely someone that the chat really likes. To be honest with you, I think the top options are Branthwaite, Bremer, Todibo. We keep getting linked to Antonio Silva, but I think he's too expensive. So be interesting to see what route we go down. I think Branthwaite, don't count him out. He's someone we could definitely go for, depending on the price. But everyone, guys, this has been the 2 p.m. show. Had to get out my Southgate news. It's honestly worrying me daily. I need a news article to come out saying this is all false, but I don't think we're going to hear it. I think this is going to be, this news is going to be swirling around a lot. And if this news is coming out after Erik ten Hag just got a gigantic win against Liverpool, God knows what's going to come out when when he loses a game, or if he loses a game. I'm worried, but that's the news. Thoughts in the comments, your thoughts on Joao Gomes, your thoughts on the centre-back options, your thoughts on Southgate. Again, on the overlap, Neville and Keane kind of talking about Southgate, and they weren't against it, which scared me again, because obviously they'll know a lot of what's going on. They'll have connections. Get in the comments all your thoughts, all your theories. Please hit a like on the video. But as of now, I want to say, Joao Gomes, I really do like the look of him. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I will see you on the next one, everyone.